right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. Let's see what your feedback is. Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya is the hashtag Daybreak, and this was a tweet that was sent out by the Speaker of the National Assembly saying that Azimio la Umoja is just a Nasser incarnation with nothing new to offer. We'll get a reaction on that in just a bit. Let's see. Okello Mwalimu says, while Azimio team is signing players from rival camp thanks to the so-called earthquake, UDA camp seems to be intent on extending loan contracts of their own players. Like Honorable Moses Kuria, by signing Mudavadi and Wetangula, they got 2 injured players. Okay. Charlo Woodrose, he says, a person will always be bad and corrupt when he or she is not in your political side. What politicians looks into affiliates is how popular an individual is politically and not how clean someone is as far as graft is concerned. Okay, Truth is Freedom, you say, can Cherargei confirm to us that these guys are corrupt? Nobody can have a file of a clean person. If there's a file, then it means they are corrupt and need to be handed over to the DCI. Arisa Rogers says, coalitions come up because of poor performance on the grassroots. Leaders move to where there's influence and imagine votes to get favor and sympathy. If someone would have performed well, he or she can run independently and win 100%. No performances is equal to slippery ground. Okay. Tim Hasler says, Senator Wamatangi is the president we have lost. Politics should not be personal, but should be based on ideologies to empower people. These are the leaders we want. Okay. Abdirahman Ali says, for the first time, politicians are returning calls or receiving. They promise to build a bridge where there is no river. Wait till they resume office. They will never be seen again. Kupanga ni kujipanga. Maisha yao. Politics of interest indeed. God above sees us all. Okay. Let's come back to that conversation that I was talking about. There's a bill now that is seeking the return of voting system last used in 2007. A fresh clash looms in the National Assembly following the introduction of a bill that seeks to amend the Elections Act to bring back manual vote identification and transmission of poll results. This was the subject of a contested presidential election. In fact, let's start with you, Atandi. Is this bill right? Is this the direction the country should take?
Trevor, lawmaking is supposed to cure problems that exist. You are aware since the introduction of electronic voter transmission, we have had some challenges. Remember in 2013 and 2017 during the Supreme Court petitions, there are many issues emerged. One of the issues which emerged is that we are unable to completely cover all the sections of this country in terms of network. You find that there are certain parts of the country that are completely cut off, so that there's no sufficient network that can be used to transmit these results. So I think this bill is actually aimed at curing that problem. And it is just, we are not just saying that we are moving the whole elections transfer from electronic to manual. Yeah. What's happening is that we're introducing the bill seeks to introduce a complementary system, so that where the electronic system fails, the manual system comes in. And I think there should be really nothing to complain about. And it is not going to be, it's not something that our opponents can win. This is something that is good for all of us. Yeah. And I don't even see the reason why it is being politicized. But I find this change of heart interesting because this was the subject of a presidential election contest. And in fact, the transmission was mentioned as one of the main issues. Now you're saying that having a manual one is okay? No. We are saying that we are going to have both those systems. IEBC is going to prepare the electronic voter transfer system as it is. But then the law is going to provide for the manual one. So that where the electronic system fails, the manual system comes on board. Remember, even at the Supreme Court, the reason why actually the elections, President Uhuru's election was nullified was because that the IEBC, they were even unable to open up the server so that the information could be verified. Yeah. Remember, that was a challenge. So you're okay with it? Yeah, so I think, whereas our electronic transfer system is what is anchoring our electoral laws. Yeah. I think with this introduction is going to make even the electoral process very seamless.
Okay.
I know my opponents are going to disagree with me, but the truth of the matter is that in 2002, we had a manual system, and that was one of the first time we had a free and fair elections in 2002.
Okay.
2002, we had a free and fair elections, and everybody knows. And it was manual, you know.
Okay.
Since 2002, I think we have not been sitting pretty.
Okay.
In fact, I cannot even say that since the introduction of electronic voter transmission, we have had a free and fair election. We have always been contesting the results.
Okay.
And we want a situation where we are very sure about the election. So that, remember, one of the reasons why we are talking about Azimio la Umoja is that we are looking for a free and fair electoral system, electoral process, so that after the elections, everyone is satisfied.
Yeah.
You go, you do your business, I do my business.
Now that you brought up
conflict.
the issue of contesting results, Murkomen and Ishungwa directly challenged the Azimio team when they were in Naivasha yesterday, saying that you should declare that you will accept defeat should you be defeated. Will you accept defeat?
You see that in fact, I can promise you that in August, that team will be demonstrating. That one I can assure you. The team that is going to demonstrate against this Ross this time around is Tangatanga. And I think Murkomen they are reading themselves. Even if you look at their body language, even the way they behave in Parliament, they're actually people preparing to conduct electoral protests. And they're going to do it. I want to challenge them that they're the ones who are going to do it, because we are trying to prepare the ground and so that you are comfortable with the results when they are announced. That's actually what we're trying to do. And because we've been beaten, so we know.
Will the Azimio team accept defeat?
Azimio team is going to win the elections. So the question of...
Should they lose it, will they accept defeat?
We are not going to lose elections. We cannot lose elections.
But will you accept defeat?
No, we are going to win the elections, Trevor.
You're not confirming or denying this?
I am confirming to you that the next president of Kenya is Raila Odinga, who is the presidential candidate for Azimio la Umoja. There's nothing else I want to talk about. The people who are going to protest is the team that is led by Chungwa and Cherargei. They're the people who are going. I think I have told you, even when you see the way they behave in Parliament, the way they try to win, little battles in Parliament, things like,
so you don't want to confirm that you will accept defeat?
We are going to win the results, so win the election. So I cannot even talk about losing. How can I talk about losing when this election is for us?
Let me bring in Cherargei on this.
We have Trevor, the whole country is behind Raila Amolo Odinga. So how do you lose election in such a scenario? Okay,
Cherargei.
I think let me start with the last question that you asked. The Deputy President has been on record on several occasions that the outcome, he will accept the outcome of elections. And we has been on record not once, but on several occasions, even when you have had interview with him. And he has challenged his main challenger to tell the country that should elections go either way, he should not go to swear himself in or to call for demonstration. And I think that is the essence of fair competition. All of us here are running for offices, including him. Should he lose a nomination in ODM, in his constituents should not accept. I think it is fair comment that as leaders, we must be gracious enough. We must say where we win, we celebrate with moderate, but where we also lose, we must accept that loss. And therefore, I want to commend the Deputy President because he has said on record, you have covered him, and even all of us agree that the decisions that Kenyans will make on 8th of August this year, either way, that outcome will be accepted. And that is why we are working very hard to ensure that we win this election. Secondly, on the issue of elections laws, and therefore I want to, because you can see the gauge answers that my brother Atandi is giving shows the clear pointer of the Azimio leader, because I've never heard of him anywhere in any forum saying that should ODM or Azimio lose the elections, they are ready to concede defeat. The way, in fact, one of the things that President Uhuru Kenyatta has done, and I think we sometimes need to commend him, he has not done very well, but on conceding defeat in 2002, was very important, because you remember he called in an hotel in the city and conceded defeat to President Mwai Kibaki. Those are some of the things we would like to see in the country. That's how vibrant democracy works. But it looks that the democracy within Azimio and ODM is something that is alien. Secondly, and finally, on the issue of elections amendment laws that they want to bring, we say this 207, 208, when Kriegler wrote a report, that some of these amendments that we are doing to elections process is setting us for election chaos. Because why would, the other day they were forcing us to do political parties amendments, there was fight in parliament, we disagreed, we did not agree, now they want to bring the first reading. Of course, parliament is a lawmaking institution. It has power to legislate. We have power, by the way, to legislate up to 8th August 2022. But, you know, we also need to be careful so that we don't take the country into the wrong direction. If the government and Amos Kimunya thought that this bill was important for the country, why did they introduce like a year ago or 2 years ago? Yeah. Kriegler said very well that some of these issues to do with elections, even appointment of IEBC commissioners into office, must done within a certain period, because you cannot appoint an IEBC commissioner the way we did in 2017, few months to the general election. How will that people build capacity? How will they be inducted? Yeah. How will they know how management of elections will be done? So in as much as the intention of the bill, the content could be meaning well for the process of election, the intent and form is unfortunate, it is very wrong. And I think for us who see through these tactics and games, is that Azimio have realized that they are losing the votes from the people, and therefore they are trying to use all the monkey tricks business to try and ensure that they are trying to rig elections by all means, by introducing some funny...
What do you think is the purpose of this bill?
The purpose of this bill is very simple, is that these people want to win an election by hook or crook, and therefore they are thinking, you saw they came up with a political parties amendment. They almost, they shoved through our throats. They beat us up in parliament. They intimidated us. In fact, you saw senators being blocked leaving the country. So the intention was they are trying to force, we knew they were trying to force One Kenya Alliance to form a coalition with Azimio. That is why they are saying, you know, by February, that you should deposit your coalition agreement. Now they are coming out with the Elections Act by saying, now when you're having an election as returning officer from somewhere in Elwak, you must carry that election declaration form all the way to Bomas. All the way to, and yet IEBC, and you know, we need to be honest, Kenyans, we have invested a lot of billions of shillings in technology in IEBC. We have invested even coverage, buying phones, buying computers and laptops for the returning officers and presiding officers across the country. Then why would the country spend a lot of billions of shillings in terms of technology within IEBC, then come back and say, you know, now, since we don't trust technology, let us now go back and ensure that somebody from Elwak, from Namanga, from somewhere far in in Turkana, they need to come all the way to Bomas of Kenya and file the returns physically. So I think some of the proposals within this bill is unfortunate. And you saw even they were defeated yesterday. Because also, if you want to know that there is mischief, Trevor, as I conclude, is that yesterday they introduced a procedural motion that wanted to reduce publication of the bill from 14 days to 5 days, but they were defeated. So it looks like, and you can see the real intention of that procedural motion that was introduced by the National Assembly was, for intent and purposes, was to ensure that they fast-track some of these funny bills. And we know how these people want to operate, because they realize in Political Parties Amendments Act, it took long because the parliamentary process is a bit lengthy, is public participation as per Article 118 of the Constitution of Kenya, there is that period. So from where I look at this bill is not in good intention. Let the promoters of this bill wait when UDA and other friends form government. Some of us, God willing, will be in parliament. We can assist them in processing these proposals in 2023.
Wamatangi, do you have a problem with the timing of this bill?
Trevor, can I just take one step back? And because there was a discussion there that I missed out of before we went to the break. And this was on that question of corruption and where do we sit with corruption as a country. And I think it is important for us to put it emphatically that between all the players who are seeking elective offices, and especially to the highest office in this land, be they from Azimio, be they from Kenya Kwanza, or any other person seeking office as President of the Republic of Kenya, if they do not have clear, Trevor, in their work plan, to first acknowledge that corruption is a problem in this country, and that we must deal with it fully, firmly, and with finality. Such that at the end of the day, we must recognize that we lost track and lost grace and position with the Asian tigers from the time when we gained independence, and this is a story we have told, to the point where now we are struggling to rise when others are shining. That is because we have been corrupt. This country has been bedeviled, and we have been retrogressed by corruption. We must say emphatically that what we expect to see in those manifestos that are yet to be published and made public today from all these coalitions must address the question of corruption without reservations. And you know, unless we are clear as a country and as leaders, because then how is it that today that we still have problems with drugs and medicines in our hospitals? How is it that today, when you open this newspaper, that you find Kenyans with luggage on their backs migrating from their homes because they are fearing for their lives, because security is yet to be adequate in this country? How is it that you find that we are still grappling and fighting with the security of Kenyans in Northeastern who died yesterday and the day before and many months before continuously, including here in the capital city, out of corruption, because we are yet to be adequate as a security and secure nation from the threats that we face, and so many other things. And that's why I wanted to make it clear that the agenda of corruption must be top agenda for any coalition seeking to govern this country. Secondly, I have no problem with the second discussion that you had there with Mheshimiwa Tandi, and you tried to pressure him seriously that should he or shouldn't he be clear on whether they are going to accept defeat. And I have no problem with his position to the extent that he is single-minded about victory. You know, I mean, when you're going for a goal, then you're only single-minded about it, and you say it is either plan A, and if plan A doesn't work, then you revert to A. And if A doesn't work, then you revert again to A. That is a correct mindset. It's a good mindset when you are gunning for a goal. But then you also introduce the other aspect now of reality. And I would want to, remind my brother, Mheshimiwa Tandi, if you just want to probably now, immerse yourself into what really is, you just need to remember a few years ago, the competition between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. And, if there's anything I would describe, Trevor, as the pinnacle of humility, is, for example, the admission and concession of defeat by a candidate like Hillary Clinton at that particular time. And so, and by the way, my brother, Mheshimiwa Tandi, when you're running for office, for example, like in the US elections, if you read the back histories of some of those guys and women when they're running for elections, towards the election, they write two speeches. One concession and one victory, because anything is possible. And so I think it is also not completely out of scope that one would say, for the sake of peace, for the sake of this nation, because I value the lives and the people of this country, that indeed I'm ready and willing to accept defeat. I think that emphatic position, I don't think that it hurts anyone, because at the end of the day, Kenyans know whom and why they are going to vote for that person. Now, lastly is on this question of the bill. Trevor, I was just trying to look at some of the highlighted provisions of that bill. And if you just take a quick look at some of them, because I think they're worth looking at, and so that our Kenyans can follow and know maybe what are some of the key contested issues there. You see, some of the provisions there say that it allows IEBC to use physically delivered results to declare presidential vote. That was addressed by Mheshimiwa Tandi, and I think to a larger extent, he's right that you need to have an alternative to the electronic system. Because if then you have failure, and we discussed this before even in Parliament. If you have a failure in the systems, then you cannot say that ultimately you have no other legally recognizable and allowed system of ensuring that results then are communicated. The question would be, and I think this is where the law needs to be very clear, even as we debate it, is because the requirement also in the same law is that a presiding officer must transmit electronically the results at their polling station. What happens in the event that you have electronically transmitted results that differ from physically delivered results? I think that must be emphatically clear, that which takes precedence. What was sent by electronic means, or what has
what
been,
is there,
you know, because that was the backdrop of the disagreement, of the fight and bloodletting in 2007, and again even in the contested elections of 2017, where we had a rerun. So I think that particular part must be very clear, and you know, in my view, I would stand firmly for the position whereby if results have been transmitted electronically by a known certified person, then they should take precedence over any other results that have been transmitted later. But in the event that one doesn't work, then the second must be made legal. You know, if you look at another provision there, Trevor, there's the one that says that that voters to prove they have worked, owned a business, and possess land or a residential building for at least 6 months in the constituency they intend to transfer to. And I would be taking issue with that personally, because unless it is misreported here, but in the fine content of the bill, I would think that it is limiting. It may border on the threshold of the freedom and provisions of several acts of parliament. That, you know, when you have the freedom to choose, to cast your ballot and decide whom you want to be governed by, that there will be such barriers that would stop you, for example, that you'd have to prove that you either own a business or, you know, a building, a residential building, or worked in a place, because you could be residing in a place and jobless. For 1 year.
You don't have evidence.
And you may not have, you know, owned those buildings. So you need to vote, and I think that would need to be opened.
All right.
The last one probably that I would want to mention is on that provision whereby the reduction of time from 21 to 90 days, where parties should present their membership lists and then verified by the registrar. And, you know, this is an area that we have to tread very, very carefully, because either way, it can be messy for any of the parties. A party list is a long list, for example. And remember, we are not dissolving parties by allowing them to join coalitions, such that I believe even within a coalition where parties hold corporate membership, that those parties would still provide their membership lists the way they are. So if you're talking about votes being cast to the tune of probably 20 million plus in a general election, within 90 days, confirming and ascertaining all those names, you know, where maybe you may have disputes and questions, may be an issue. And because we want to have an election that is clean, clear, would need to look at some of those and see where do we strike a balance that at the end of the day gives us not only the results we want, but a credible process whereby we minimize the chances that there will be disputes that will stop us from having a declaration at the end of the process and who will be president of this republic and who sits in the other offices. And this finally dovetails into that question that we asked: would you admit or concede defeat if you are defeated? If the process seems tainted, if you have reason to doubt, or you are given any reason within law or outside law that would make you hesitant to see through the process,
that the results reflect what happened, then that is where you have a problem with admission. And because you don't want to raise that possibility of a candidate failing or refusing to concede defeat on account of what may have happened in the process.
Okay.
I think that is why we need to make sure that the law itself is see-through, that whatever we provide for is a provision that upholds the intention and the intended outcome.
Okay. Atandi, isn't there a chance of abusing this? So exactly what Wamatangi is saying, that the electronic version has a different version from what is actually brought manually.
Maybe even before I come to that, Trevor, I think Wamatangi has spoken very well, especially in his last statements. And we must accept that for us as a country, the journey to a free and fair electoral system is still works in progress. We are not yet there, because if you look at the outcome of the last two presidential elections, there have been issues, and some of the issues have even been confirmed by the Supreme Court. So I think what we are trying to do here is, what the law is trying to do here is actually working towards ensuring that ultimately we have elections that can win some, some confidence, a greater confidence actually. So towards this end, I think that we are trying to do what the law is trying to do is trying to, amend, tamper positively with certain aspects of the law that would bring problems. What I think is that will happen in the end is that in cases where there have been no network or electoral systems have failed, there is a fault in the transmission of the results, I think that is the place where we will need this manual intervention. That is as far as my understanding is concerned.
Okay.
Where the system, the network was a problem, the results did not come, that's where we'll need. But I don't think there will be a situation where we are using both two systems at the same place. But we are using both manual and electronic.
Okay.
I think that would be very expensive.
All right.
This is basically for intervention purposes.
Okay.
Also, secondly, the question of accepting defeat is something that is tied to how election is considered free and fair. I think that is something which is fundamental. And even right now, if you still feel that the elections is not free and fair, the Constitution has given us mechanisms for intervention.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Cherargei's team cannot force me to say here today that I will accept the results. There are mechanisms for interventions. If I don't think the results are not good, I will go to Supreme Court. And if the Supreme Court agrees with me, then there are procedures for action. And that is what we have done.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have done that. And in one occasion, we have been vindicated. So what does Cherargei and Murkomen want me to do, to say here? We cannot say, even them, they will go to Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And I think theirs will be even more violent than ours.
Okay.
Yeah. They will kill, they might even, on their way to Supreme Court, they might even kill people.
No,
and that's some of the things we are fearing.
You cannot allow
we are fearing.
national television.
Yes, you have to withdraw that statement.
Withdraw, you can.
That statement you have to withdraw.
I withdraw. I withdraw.
You have to withdraw and apologize.
Trevor, let me say.
But you know what you were
trying to say.
Yeah.
The first point that my brother Atandi has been making is that it is. I agree with him.
Yeah.
The part that he says we must also ensure that the elections is free and fair, and those are the standards. And of course, the Constitution has provided us with the mechanisms of intervention. But what we are saying is, should it be free and fair?
Yeah.
Any Kenyan, in any contest, all of us are politicians and we will be running for offices. In any fair contest, you must accept the results. We are not saying you must accept defeat. I've been very careful with the use of my words by saying you must accept results where it is free and fair.
Okay.
But now, the Azimio and ODM are cutting around the issue by not being honest with us. And let me assure Atandi that as the UDA and Friends Allied of Kenya Kwanza, we are working very hard to ensure that we sell an agenda to Kenyans that will make us be elected in round one in a free and fair contest.
Okay.
And this has been, and that is why every day you see us on the road. Today we'll be in Kajiado, we were in Naivasha. We are trying to win the hearts and minds of Kenyans by giving them an agenda that if you give William Ruto and his brothers, Moses Wetangula, Papa Roma, Mudavadi Musalia, if you give them the chance, we have a solid agenda that we can transform this nation. And I think if Kenyans will vote, and when Kenyans vote, and that vote counts, I know there is a philosopher who said that those who vote don't matter, those who count matter. But that is, that's another debate for another day.
I'd like to hear your views on a statement that the Speaker of the National Assembly made yesterday when he was having a conversation with people online. He calls it Chat with JB Muturi. There are two specific tweets that came out that I found very interesting. Let's bring up the first one. So this is the first. He was responding to a question asked to him whether he would join Azimio or not. And he said, Azimio La Umoja is just a NASA incarnation with nothing new to offer. But there was also another conversation when he was asked whether he could join the Kenya Kwanza team and DP Ruto's UDA. And he said DP Ruto had 9 years to fulfill his promises to Kenyans, and he failed. Insanity is doing the same thing, expecting different results. Omatangi.
Well, those are the views of J.B. Muturi. And, you know, he has the constitutional right to hold his views. And so we can't fault him or deny him that opportunity. You know, I think, as we've said, because we went through the process where J.B. Muturi is a speaker, went through the process of forming, or rather passing the elections bill into an act, and which provides for how coalitions are going to be made, and that's precisely where Azimio La Umoja now is anchoring. The only problem right now, and as I said earlier, Trevor, is that probably if you look at Azimio, they have yet to consummate, they have yet to formalize whoever they want to invite as partners. If they want to invite Jubilee, if they want to invite, you know, Wiper, they want to invite any other party, you know, Mother's NAC, if that is true what's in the media. Then once they're done with that process, they will hardly be then, you know, NASA. There will be another outfit altogether. What is definitely evident and true, as partly what JB has said, is that, you know, when Raila Odinga is there, you know, and then you get Kalonzo Musyoka back, then you are edging still closer to what NASA was. But as we said earlier, I don't think in politics you also burn bridges. You know, you find that you may be forced by circumstances to find yourself on the same political table, you know, pushing the same agenda. But we made it very clear also in our conversation, Trevor, that the political fitting and alignment for purposes of winning positions must be anchored on higher ideals that you are trying to get to that position, to change the fate and the position of people. On this other question of DP Ruto had 9 years to fulfill his promises, definitely DP Ruto did not have 9 years alone. He had 9 years together with His Excellency the President. And this is where I've always had a problem myself, when either of the two tries to separate themselves from what the realities of today are. Because, you know, you can either allow either of the two, be it the DP or the President, to run away from where we are today. The President has taken responsibility by saying this is what we are doing as Jubilee, and this is where we are, this is where we want to go before our time is over. And I think even as we get to the next election cycle, and of course we have those 50-something days, even including for the DP and myself and everybody else now to finally declare that this is where we are. It is important to always say, and I've insisted on this, that the buck stops here when you are responsible and you have been given that mandate. So we can't visit any troubles or misdeeds or misgivings of the administration and the DP because there are few. We know that that is the administration that was Jubilee led by the two. All the gains also are equally owned by the to the extent that they had that constitutional mandate. So I think
What DP Ruto will have to do is, as he gets into the election and competes for it, he'll have to know that there's a record here that, still lies there. Yeah. That's the Jubilee record where he was a member. And if he gets elected to be the president because he's running, and God knows if he does or he doesn't, that's his role, then he'll have a bigger challenge even ahead of him.
All right.
For all the failures that were there, then to make them real.
Okay, Atandi, quick reactions to what JB has said as we wind up on this conversation.
I think the problem we have is that whereas the president takes responsibility for the mistakes and successes of his regime for the last 10 years, his deputy tries to run away from certain aspects of that regime.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at the way Ruto campaigns, he first of all begins by citing, he knows if he goes to a particular area, he knows the development program that have been undertaken in that area. I think he's given. And the first thing he does is to cite them. We did this, we connected water, road, etc., electricity. And immediately that is done with that, then now he starts running away from the other aspects of government, which he thinks were not done well.
Yeah.
I think this is really the hypocrisy which the Speaker is calling the DP for. Because whereas we know very well that in both 2013 and 2017 governments, the DP Ruto played a substantial responsibility in constituting that cabinet and in running it. So it is not fair that they can sit in one forum with the likes of Musalia Mudavadi when they're hitting at the president, and he's also there, and he's also clapping. That is immoral. And I think this is the reason why I'm saying that when Gerard Gaze tries to convince us that this team, Ruto, Mudavadi, and Wetangula team, is a team that is promising us heaven, I think I disagree with him, because this is, to me, a crooked group of leaders that really Kenya should actually ignore what they say. Yeah, they should actually, even as they go around calling rallies, paying people to attend rallies, because that is really what they do. People who attend their rallies are paid to attend. Even when they are paid, please take the money, but ignore these crooks, because there's nothing really serious they're saying. That is when I think I agree with the Speaker for calling them out.
Okay.
And this is something which they must take. Why do you accuse government of overborrowing when you know very well some of the debts were committed to those things you're citing, the electricity, the roads, and so I think we need to be very fair, as Kenyans. Let us be serious and say what it is when it is. Let us not.
Gerard Gay, response, and then I give you closing remarks.
Trevor, it is very interesting that Atandi wants to take us on some very interesting, because we are aware there are a number of buses who broke down. They have been ferrying people even to Murang'a and yesterday in Kajiado, and you saw even clips of buses. So they are the experts in hiring crowds to attend their functions, because they know they are doing poorly. And I'm told a number of estates in this have started a new business of being hired crowds by the Azimio. And they have money nowadays because the state has been funding them heavily. You can see even members of parliament, I'm told they are going, members of parliament, a good price is going, the law in the market is 20 million per member of parliament. So it is very interesting. You have seen the NC members of parliament have been disappearing. So the word has it on the street that you are a member of parliament. This is the transfer window. You are paid 20 million to change, especially to go to Azimio. One thing I disagree with, and it is a fact, it's the truth. Atandi is smiling because he's nowadays they are moneyed, and fortunately or fortunately, they're using the taxpayers' money. I respect JB Muturi is my friend, the Speaker of the National Assembly, but I take an exception, because I think when you are more, how the government functions, you should also be honest. JB Muturi is aware that executive decisions are made by head of an institution. He cannot tell us that his deputy speaker, Moses Cheboy, can make decisions instead of him. So he should put the blame where it deserves, because it's like, I think if he is calling out Uhuru, he should just call Uhuru for failures of Jubilee. Because you can't say the deputy president has been giving promises. It's just the deputy. Even if William Ruto wanted today to connect electricity to 1 million plus Kenyans, and President Uhuru does not assent to it, but when Jubilee was still functional before the, you know, we have been having handshake government from 2018 to 2022, and I know all Kenyans know that. But the point I'm trying to make is that J.B. Muturi owes a very serious constitutional office in this republic. He must be honest with Kenyans. Because even the time the person who comes, you know, and it shocks because it is J.B. Muturi who normally welcomes the president to address the nation. And it is during the SONA or State of the Nation address, it is the president who normally highlights the achievements and challenges of government.
Yeah.
And therefore, if there are promises that have been failed, it is the power and purview of the presidents. The deputy president in the first term has been a good assistant, has been, of course, very active during the delivery of government promises, but he has only been doing as a principal assistant and upon the directions of the president.
Okay.
J.P. Muturi wants us to believe that it is William Ruto who has been ordering the president, which we know is pure lie. So I really want to ask him if he wants to run for president, although we are not aware whether he's running, he's castigating others, because he should be busy selling an agenda. I'm told he has a small village party that he wants to run with it to be the president. So he should be saying, my agenda as J.P. Muturi is to do this one and this one. And I don't know, you know, he's the Speaker of the National Assembly. I don't know whether he has talked to people like Akina Atandi to support him for presidency, which he has never even done, and he wants to run for president.
Okay. Let me just
don't go, Trevor.
Yeah.
It's not fair for...
Closing remarks.
It's not fair for Cherargei to go personal on the person of the Speaker, simply because the Speaker is challenging his boss in the Mount Kenya supremacy, you know. So I think the Speaker's bid for president is affecting their popularity on the ground. I think that's why it's going personal. Personally, I think I want to maintain that the Speaker has a right to run for president, and he has,
no, I have not refused.
He has very good and honest views as a person who has been in charge of one branch of the executive, one branch of government.
Okay. But you didn't ask him, Atandi, another tweet that he said Azimio is ODM and nothing new.
I'll give you a minute.
I did answer that.
I'll give you each a minute.
No, he didn't answer.
Closing remarks.
Can we check the answer of the studio?
Let's bring up the feedback that we finished with and then give you all a chance for closing remarks, starting with Wamatangi. Let's bring up the rest of the feedback, first of all, and then we'll hear what Atandi has to say. Conrad Kulo. The hypocrisy in our political space is too much. Justin Muturi will probably go down in history as the national speaker who oversaw a failed legislator. Is Justin Muturi not aware of this? Let's work with the ideals, okay? Mogira Jasper, there is no law that cure mischief. We tried manual transmission and got Tarakaniti. Tried electronic and got Msando killed. Numbers that add up uniformly plus sleeping servers. What we need is jail terms for poll managers who bungle it up. Masika says politicians not ready for free, fair, transparent and verifiable elections. Who is sponsoring the bill for retrogressive manual voting system? Politicians want to impose themselves to the electorates. May thunder strike whoever came up with the overly ridiculous bill. Collins Gipso, going back to manual voting system is a downgrade. Why go manual and we have technological know-how to conduct this process? We even need to adopt the US voting system. This year's election needs to set new standards and high level of accuracy. Kipron Abraham says technology is the way to go. We shouldn't be taken back to those days when few seated somewhere would decide for us who should be our president. Kenya is for us all, not the few who feel entitled to decide for Kenyans. Kiprono still says these amendments are bringing us Tharaka Nithi of 2022. We should be very careful. Why should we improve network coverage other than going back to medieval times? Okay, why shouldn't we improve network coverage? All right. Wamatangi, closing remarks because we've run out of time now.
Well, I first wanted to, as I close, get clearer views from Senator Cherargei, because I would be very curious to know how this window is of 20 million. and
you want to join the transfer window?
What is the tag for senators?
Slightly higher.
Maybe it could be double. But I don't know where you saw that, Cherargei, because if it is there, I would be very curious to see it. Who knows? These are the few last days and many people want to go and campaign.
Yes.
So it could be as a quick source of funds. But anyway, I think the key thing that we should be saying is that I think that's very wrong in the first place if it ever happens, because you know, we should do away with that kind of norm, tradition, or even fallback position if that be happening. And I hope it is wrong, you know, for what Cherargei is saying. I believe why JB was talking about DP Ruto is because DP is a candidate in the 2022 elections. And so he may be looking at possible presidential candidates who may be his competitors. You know, he's expressed interest here and there in running for president. Now, for my closing remarks, Trevor, I just want to take the opportunity to remind the people of Kenya, my core countrymen and women, that I think it is time now to pull out our marking schemes during this election and subject people to the right and strict evaluation, and not only with their curriculum vitae, but also with their character curriculum. And decide whom do we want to sit in positions of leadership this time. And I want to just make it clear to my fellow Kenyans that you cannot mark scheme, you cannot scheme mark for people if you do not know in the first place what you want yourself. That we must be clear in our minds, what kind of country do we want to have? You know, and once we have that clear, then when we are saying that we want to be led by so-and-so at the top position, and we will vote for that person, then we'll know that this is what we expect of that person. We have had this problem all the time, and Trevor, you've spoken about it here endlessly, that it is a vicious cycle, whereby you have leaders who come promising heaven, goodies, milk and honey, and then within the third year towards the fourth year, the tune changes. So it's time and it is a reinvention of the same story. And so we end up just being the same people all over and over again. So I won't tell Kenyans, let's rise up to the occasion.
Please come with the marking scheme. Very briefly, because I'm running out.
Trevor, the issue of leaders on hire or on purchase is something which was invented in Sugoi and Karen Road. This is a fact, all Kenyans know. Kenyans know that when Ruto began this Tanga movement, elected leaders used to go to Karen to pick handouts. And most of them complained even in parliament that they were being mistreated, that sometimes they were promised 1 million, they are given 20,000. So this is not something that...
This is not how your own internal affairs in parliament. None of us can prove any of these things you say, because both of you are counter-accusations.
It's not something which is new in our political space. So for my friend to begin to allege that leaders running away from Musalia Mudavadi are being paid, I think is one of the worst.
So that's a closing remark.
That's my closing remark. I wanted to tell him that, in fact, they understand the politics of buying leaders. It is an area which we left for them because they are the experts. They've done it for the last 4 years. Can you imagine leaders, even from President Kenyatta's backyard, were even hired to throw abuses at him? They were paid, and this is a fact. So please, don't bring that, that philosophy to us. If you look at the leaders who have abandoned Musalia Mudavadi, they have abandoned it on principle. They have said, in fact, some of the leaders were even addressing rallies in their constituencies and asking people, which side of the political divide do you want me to go, between Azimio, between Raila, and people are telling them, please don't go that side. So I think this issue of saying that leaders are being bought is nonsense. It should not be tolerated.
All right.
Lastly,
very briefly,
out of time. The Nation editorial has run a very important 2 articles today. One on management of county resources, and this one on the cleanup of the church. And I want to say something on the cleanup of the church. Trevor, we cannot run away from this reality. We cannot allow our churches, everyone to wake up today and begin a church. And these churches, even if you look at what they are teaching, is actually not in agreement with the
doctrine,
the books of the Bible. So I think this is something which I think Mama Ida Odinga spoke about it, and people condemned her. But I think in retrospect, let us take time as Kenyans and understand how our churches operate. Because these churches, really, they are the reason actually why we are even having dirty politics. Because churches have become places where even a thief from committee can walk into a church and be prayed for and be praised because that thief has money. And I think this is something which we need to do. We need to clean up churches because we can't allow a country that is run by churches that do not have a foundation.
Cherargei, closing remarks.
quick 2 points only. And if Atandi wants to know where payments are made, it is made in Iltamat Home, somewhere in Kajiado. You can go there. And the experts in Azimio buying them. 2 things I want to mention. One, I want to appeal to Kenyans that we are approaching on the 6th, the final day of voter registration. I want to really call upon, and I was somewhere in Kapkures in Terik next to Kisumu County, where we need government also to release the IDs. I want to urge all Kenyans that if you have your ID, kindly pick it. Let us register as voters, especially to young people. If we want a better Kenya, we must vote. Finally, second, I want to call upon the TSC, and this has been said, that the teacher professional development or refresher training that is done by TSC, the government should pay bills. We know teachers, because of underpayments and loans, most of the teachers, you go to even Nandi County, most of the teachers cannot even afford to pay transport to those training places. So I want to call TSC to shoulder the burden of training fees, especially for teachers' professional development programs, and call upon that. Let us allow teachers to be trained freely, government to pay for those refresher costs.
All right, gentlemen, we have to leave it there for now. Let's take that quick break here on Daybreak and then cross over to Cooking Tips with Willis Bazura Buru. All right.